This is an attention economy, okay?
Yes.
To summarize everything I really just said into like one good point is like, just do good business.
How did you get involved in New Wave Performance and our brand?
A wise person once told me, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. I've always said, like, ever since I came out the womb, it seemed like I was always around a camera.
What is your advice to people that are interested in starting their own channel, and like what can they do to keep up with, you know, what's in demand?
Me personally, like how I've built my whole brand, you got to find something that you could, one, like want to watch yourself, and then two, invest into yourself, invest into your craft, invest into whatever you need to do to be successful. And I think that over a very long duration of time will lead to success in one way or another. If you're trying to build something that can stand the test of time, like, you know, something that has longevity to it, it's going to be slow.
Right.
You know, and you want it to be slow. You don't want to be an overnight success.
There's a saying, repetition is the mother of success.
Working with the Hawkeye Marching Band, where I've created so much content that is unlisted on YouTube. Like, it is for the strict purpose of no one is going to see this ever.
I saw a post today talking about the importance of brand for NIL. What do you think, you know, people should be doing, athletes should be doing to try to increase their valuation outside of obviously their physical skill sets and mindset?
As Deion Sanders said, like, keep the main thing, a student athlete. So one, get good grades, like actually show up to your classes and go hard in the paint. Read the contract that's going to be coming your way when you perform on the field. Then that number three, have a presence. Literally just like the other day, just looking through some of the athletes here, privated Instagrams, you know, maybe 2 pictures, nothing personal about you. Like, no one knows you. You got to take care of yourself, because if you're not okay, like, you can't help anyone else.
Building their brand. Like what needs to happen more around here?
Folks just need to showcase what they do more. Like, if I make something, it's either going to tell a person who I am, what I do, or what I could do for them. They're taking a chance on you. So like that person who's taking a chance on you, you got to go hard in the paint. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because if you hit that ball out the park, they're going to have what it needs to get that next person in the door, and the next 2 people in the door, and then the next 4 or 5 people in the door.
I don't know if I ever told you this. It was how I got my shadow with the Chicago Bulls. All right, guys, welcome back. Episode 4 of New Wave Certified. I'm your host, John Larkin, and with me today, I have a very special guest. He is the man behind the podcast, camera, all that good stuff. He's our producer, Darshaun Smith. Darshaun, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I wanted to kind of talk about today is just a little bit of introduction, kind of get to know you a little bit more, and kind of tell our audience about who you are. But before we get too far into that, like, how did you get involved in New Wave Performance and our brand?
Yeah, funny enough, a wise person once told me, it's not who you know, it's who knows you, okay? And we have a mutual person who knew me and obviously knew you, and that's my brother, my older brother, Naeem Smith, former athlete, you know, at Rice University and Ellsworth Community College up in Iowa Falls. I'm not sure how y'all met. Maybe y'all can go down, or you could go down that rabbit hole, but I know y'all like worked out or whatever, and my brother knew you had a business and you were in the need of someone to maybe capture some photos and some video and such, and that happened to be right around the time I had just started my business formally, like May 2022, sometime around that time, and yeah, he just like connected us in a 3-way, and one way or another through a call or 2, we made it happen, and next thing you know, we're at, what was it, like Roosevelt on the hill?
I was going to ask you about our first shoot.
Yeah. You want me to go into that?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Tell the audience.
Yeah, so that first shoot, like, I'm not going to lie, I think that was my second, like, professional photo shoot, not going to lie. But, you know, the photos turned out good, you know? My first one was a wedding, if that makes you feel better. You know, super high stakes, you know, can't, like, redo your vows and all that. But when it came time to capture some sports and such, like, I had always been around sports, you know, going to my brother's games, or, you know, I did play football for 1 year in 8th grade or something like that. So like I like loosely knew how things went, or like, I was in the marching band at Iowa. So I'd go to the Iowa Hawkeye football games and such. So I was like, okay, I know like what kind of is about to happen, like where I need to be to get the shot, air quotes. It's like now I'm just doing it. So we get there, obviously super hot day, summer training sessions. Make sure you tap in with John to get into one of those, because like the folks you were with, like one, they were working. You know what I'm saying? They weren't just there to be there, but like two, you could tell like they were truly invested in themselves, and that's the thing I took away from that. And I was like, okay, if I need to be around, or if I'm going to be around these people, I got to be just as serious. I got to
Right.
take my craft
Match
serious.
that energy, right?
Yeah, and just we got some photos, and I can put some on the screen here or something that we were getting back then, and that's how it all started.
Yeah.
On the side of a hill behind a middle school.
Yeah, Roosevelt High School or middle school, man. If you know the Roosevelt Hills, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. So you mentioned you went to the University of Iowa. You graduated from there. Grew up in Cedar Rapids, though.
Yeah.
Tell me about what it was like, growing up in Cedar Rapids, where to go to high school, stuff like that.
Yeah, I grew up on the southeast side of Cedar Rapids, and I went to Washington High School, George Washington Senior High School, if you want to, say the proper government name. But it was super cool. Like I said, I did some sports in middle school. Didn't really do sports in high school, but that allowed me to pursue other hobbies and such, i.e., working with cameras and lights and this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've always said, like, ever since I came out the womb, it seemed like I was always around a camera. Mm-hmm. And I just remember, like, as a kid, like, stealing my mom's camera or taking pictures or little videos on a little phone or something here or there. And it really just snowballed and kept going, where at one point my mom was like, okay, I guess this little boy likes cameras or whatever. So got me my own actual camera to make YouTube videos. And
how old were you when you started your first YouTube channel?
It was 2012, so I was 11.
Wow.
I was 11.
Dang.
And I don't archive any videos or any pictures on any platform I post, so you can really go back and see some stuff.
I'm sure, man.
And be like, wow, Darshaun has come a long way.
So I want to talk a little bit about how the game has changed as far as like content over those years. You've been involved in it since 2012. You made your first YouTube channel. Obviously, YouTube is still a really big thing here today. What is your advice to people that are interested in starting their own channel, and like what can they do to keep up with what's in demand here in 2025?
Yeah, me personally, like how I've built my whole brand, so I can only speak intelligently from that angle, is like you got to find something that you could, one, like want to watch yourself, because if you, as someone said to me, if you don't even want to watch your own stuff, why would anyone else want to watch it? And then two, once you find like something that you can actually, create consistently, you need to make sure that you can, just keep up with the times and interact with your audience and build the brand. I think that's a large thing that's changed over what's the 13 or 14 years I've been creating content in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Before it was like, just throw some stuff out there and see what sticks. But now we see people like Alex Hormozy or Cody Sanchez or anyone else you want to mention, Chris Doe. Speak so highly about like the power of a personal brand and how that can funnel traffic, funnel eyeballs, funnel money, most importantly, into whatever you're trying to do. So whether that's a podcast or Instagram clips or YouTube, long videos or shorts, TikToks, doesn't matter what it is, videos, pictures, text, focus on the brand, stay consistent, find something you can do day in and day out, and don't give up.
Yeah.
When you think about give up, keep going, because you never know. Have you ever seen that meme, John, of like the person who's
they're chipping away.
Yeah, chipping away,
there's
and like
diamonds
a mine
on the other side.
There's diamonds right there, but you just gave up a little too soon.
Your time's coming.
You never know when you're going to get your break in this.
Keep pushing, right?
And like, don't get it twisted. You can gamify it. You can go do some true degeneracy out here and get some instant clicks, but probably end yourself up in jail, or
like
something bad like that. But if you're trying to build something that can stand the test of time, like, something that has longevity to it, it's going to be slow.
Right.
And you want it to be slow. You don't want to be an overnight success.
Absolutely.
Because you won't know how to deal with it.
It's so funny you bring that overnight success up, because I was just thinking about, a lot of folks are starting to see this now and what we have built here. And, you and I had visited last week even, talking about like how long we've been building this thing, right? For it not to be considered an overnight success, even though some might see it as so. That being said, I want to ask you, how has your mindset evolved or changed since becoming like involved with like myself and like people that come here?
Yeah, I think my mind has mostly changed in the way that it's just goes back to that consistency thing. And most importantly, above all else, and this is very true in sports, I played the trumpet, so this is very true in musicianship as well, like reps. Like you just need to get in the reps, do the time, and invest into yourself, invest into your craft, invest into whatever you need to do to be successful. And I think that, as I said previously, over a very long duration of time, will lead to success in one way or another. Because when you simply don't give up and you keep trying new things, something's going to work eventually. Like that's just a statistical probability.
So, there's a saying, repetition is the mother of success. And
That's
I
a bar.
remember growing up, we're talking about 2012 YouTube, right? First YouTube video I ever watched was Crank That by Soulja Boy.
Ooh, Soulja Boy?
You! Soulja Boy, tough.
Right? And you just think about like that and how long ago that was. I remember him saying in an interview one time that you just have to keep putting stuff out. Just keep putting stuff out, and eventually something's going to go. That's kind of how he's stayed relevant since 2008 or whatever, when he first dropped that song, you know what I mean? But yeah, to your point. So another thing I'd like to ask is, what is making this project here different than anything else that you've worked on in the past?
Yeah, I think we were actually just talking about this, funny enough, right before this started, is like, this is like a studio setup type thing. And for me, like most of my portfolio, like whether it be photography or videography, has been like natural light, like outside, like bigger events, things of that nature, to some degree. And like this is, a more intimate space. It's a different kind of creating. It's a different skill set needed to capture this moment and like make it look good. And we're 4 episodes in. I mean, y'all can tell me in the comments if we're doing a good job. I'm open to feedback and such, and what you want to see and hear next. But yeah, I definitely think like that, just like adjusting, because it seems simple, but when you really like think about it, like, nah, you need new, like I said, a whole bunch of new equipment. You need to, invest the time into learning how to use it. And more importantly, then like when the time comes, you actually got to be prepared.
What would you say is like, how would you describe the ideal person, or what are some businesses? It could be a business, could be a personal brand, whoever, that you are interested in working with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna just say it. Like all businesses want to say this to some degree, but like, hey, rich people, like hit my line. But no, I say that in jest, mostly because like I have worked with some people who are a little conscious about their tight budget, and that's okay. Everyone has to start somewhere, and me too. I'm not saying I'm some luxury boutique photographer or luxury boutique videographer. Those people exist, you know what I'm saying? And they provide a service that demands that price. But I think for me, like my ideal like client or business I'm trying to work with is someone who, one, wants to have a public image, and actually cares about it. I think like those two things are super important. And it seems a little crazy when you think about it, but like when you're making content, and especially content for a business, like it's 9 times out of 10, and I've only experienced the one time with like working with the Hawkeye Marching Band where I've created so much content that is unlisted on YouTube. Like it is for the strict purpose of no one is going to see this ever. I just need you to make that so we can send it to this one special person and no one's going to see it ever. But everyone else, they're going to be pushing it out to someone for a goal. Whatever your goal is, that it may look different, but it could be money, it could be followers, it could be, just shine a light on what you're doing in the community. But you just got to be able to, show up and stay present and have that image.
Sure. So you mentioned, just like the image and showing who you are and stuff like that. I think my mind instantly, obviously we work with a lot of athletes, that's our thing. I saw a post today talking about the importance of brand for NIL.
That's very important.
Yes. You want to talk about rich folks? You get yourself a little NIL deal. Now we're talking some money. You know what I mean? And so what do you think, just kind of give me your opinion on this. Like what do you think, people should be doing, athletes should be doing to try to increase their valuation outside of obviously their physical skill sets and mindset? Like what can they do to better market themselves?
Yeah. Well, as Deion Sanders said, like keep the main thing. Like you're a football player, or more importantly, a student athlete. So one, get good grades. Like actually show up to your classes and go hard in the paint, because that means you're going to have the intellectual capability to then read the contract that's going to be coming your way when you perform on the field. So like stay in the books, perform on the field. But then that number 3, to answer your question, like have a presence. Like I've seen this like working with you, and it's something like I want to bring up to you like in a private conversation so we can like figure out a way to, maybe upsell people, but also just like help them, along their journey. It's like all these athletes, they don't have an online presence. That no one knows them. Like objectively speaking, like one reason why people like know Shedeur Sanders is because he has the 2 legendary brand. He has his YouTube channel. He has his Instagram. He has his X. He has his TikTok. He has all of these platforms where he actively participates in culture, actively shows not only his lifestyle, but, giving back to people in the community. And, when people want to give you money, through a name, image, and likeness deal, they obviously want your fan base to go and purchase something.
Say. It's their audience that they're after.
You know what I'm saying? So like literally just like the other day, just looking through some of the athletes here, privated Instagrams, maybe 2 pictures, nothing personal about you. Like no one knows you, So what if let's say the local Chick-fil-A comes through and they see like you doing great on the field, but it's like we can't give you like some deal or your own meal or something like that, because like there's no story to be told about you.
That's a big piece. The story, right? What story are you telling to your audience that then the brand that is seeing your story can then insert themselves into?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's a big piece of it. And understanding your audience too, who's watching your content, who's paying attention. Attention is currency. Like
yes, we in today's day and age, 2025, this is an attention economy. Okay, Don't get it twisted. Look at the numbers, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. I've been trying to look at my numbers more and more, and let me tell you, it's hard because sometimes you'll put all your effort into something and it just bombs, bro. No one saw it, you know what I'm saying? We've all been there if you create content.
Yeah, so I guess that kind of leads me into my next question about like, what is one thing that you wish people knew more about creating content?
Well, the one thing, if I had to like sum it up to this one thing, is it's going to be as hard as you make it. It kind of goes back to my original point where I was talking about like, is it something that you can consistently do? Is it something that takes a lot of time to make? Is it, very luxury, air quotes, or is it just like prop your phone up, like user-generated content, like where you're just talking to your people very casually, like it's Vine. You only have 6 seconds, so it's only the most important information. It's not high production. like this podcast. Like there's cameras everywhere, there's lights everywhere. Like this is something that you can't consistently do like every day easily without a large team.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have that. So especially for the folks who are doing this by themselves, yeah, that is something to keep in mind.
So it seems like the biggest thing is understanding, you know, how much can you do consistently, right? Okay, that makes good sense, and that seems to me like it's something that should be applied in not only creating content, but obviously other areas of your life, and it kind of makes me think a little bit about like personal growth and stuff like that. So just kind of curious, what going in and coming into 2025, what was something that you had kind of pictured for yourself as far as like, hey, this is where I want to improve, this is where I want to grow?
Yeah, for me, it was just being honest with myself when it came to my business, and like I said, largely that came down to actually like looking at the data. You know what I'm saying? Because you can be scientific about this process. You can see in the data like why did people not watch this? Like when did people stop to care? Like let me try this, let me try that. When you look at the data, you can experiment and just keep it fresh. You know what I'm saying? Keep it new and evolve with the times, evolve with the audience that you have. And that's one big area that I wanted to develop on a business side. On a personal side, if I could just give you another thing. Um, like I was saying earlier, I want to talk better. You know what I'm saying? Like obviously I talk to the camera a lot, but I also am around people who talk to the camera and being able to efficiently like describe to them like what they need to do. Like literally the other day, like you were trying to help me set up one of these tripods for the camera, and I had to like describe to you how to do it on the other side of the room. And it's like if I didn't have the like lexicon for that or the ability to articulate like, oh, like it's this kind of hinge and it's gonna do this, then unscrew that, do that. Like
Right.
you wouldn't have got that. But
Yeah. No, and that actually is a skill that a lot of people underlook necessarily. I remember, early in my coaching career, that was one of the skills that was suggested by a lot of like my mentors and stuff. They were just talking about public speaking and how important that is in coaching. Just to your point about giving directions, you want to make sure that your athletes can understand what is being asked of them to do. Are they, able to understand what it is that you're describing to them, so that way you get set outcome, so on and so forth. And then also part of that is also becoming a better listener. So one of the skills that I've developed is the ability to listen more than I speak. And a lot of people don't really get that part. You know what I mean?
I'm
Being able
telling you.
to, just listen to what the other person's saying and take some time to put some thought into what you're saying,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much simply put, the importance of understanding the skill of public speaking. And so that sounds like that was one of the bigger goals that you had for yourself coming into 2025, no?
Yeah, no, that definitely was.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And so, have you dabbled any much with like leadership or anything like that? Like I know you and I both, we don't have employees yet. So we don't lead a team yet, but
Yeah.
like, have you kind of considered anything as far as like learning leadership skills or anything?
Yeah, I have some practical experience like leading folks, whether that's in like an organization. Like when I was at the University of Iowa, I was like a supervisor or like managerial position to where I had like a direct like team of 14. I managed another 100 people, you know what I'm saying? And that was super cool. Like I got that in college. I got paid to do that. I got, paid for the training and all that. But obviously like hiring your own team and bringing your own people on, like that is a completely different skill set, especially when it's about something completely different that is creative. At least like what I do is there's a lot of egos. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of it needs to be like this or it needs to look like that. So we just need to. I think that's the biggest thing for me. Like when I go down that leadership pathway, is like understanding how to collect everyone's like mindsets or thought processes to one centralized goal, which is we need to capture this moment. This is what the person wants, and we're gonna do that no matter what.
Right. Yeah, getting everybody bought into the same mission objective.
Yeah.
That is the core of leadership. And I think a way that I can kind of relate to that is, some days we have, a couple people in here at a time, you know what I mean, for a session. Other days we'll have 10 people in one session. And so it's obviously easier to lead a smaller group than it is a larger group. But once you get that experience of working with these bigger teams, you can definitely pull out them skills and get everybody lined up in the right spot and where they need to be, so that way they can execute, the same objective that we are asking them to do.
Yep.
That being said, what are some habits that you have picked up along the way, day to day, that have led you to be a better leader or just a better operator?
Yeah, you got to take care of yourself. That's getting good sleep. That's getting lots of water. You know what I'm saying? That's like going to the gym and like just lifting heavy stuff, as I would say. And that all make sure that you yourself are good. Like you love yourself. You're okay with yourself. You're good up here mentally. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're not okay, and it's okay to not be okay. But if you're not okay, like you can't help anyone else. You can't financially support anyone else until you're good. You can't, provide some advice until you've went through some things and you've racked that in your brain and you actually have some practical life experience on that. So I think that's the biggest thing that helped me. And I did a lot of that last year in 2024. I called it the ghost mode period, where I purposefully like got off of social media and everything so I could, really come to terms with some traumatic experiences I had in my life.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
Like getting offline. What was that? What did that do for you?
It was phenomenal. I'm not gonna lie. I would love to do it again, but sadly, I gotta market my business and such. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I took 9 months off of like Instagram and YouTube and Snapchat. Like at one point in my life, I had like a daily series on Snapchat for 6 years straight. Like of just like consistent daily motivation. Trying to help other people. And like I had said, I just had to be like, I'm not okay. Objectively speaking. So I need to remove myself from that. And when I did, I found myself like with all of this free time magically. It's like, okay, now I have too much time. What do I do? You know what I'm saying? Where do I go?
How much free time you think you got back from getting off?
Hours. Like I was just looking at my phone the other day and it was my screen time's like 10 hours a day or something like that. And then not to mention when I'm not looking at my phone, like I'm on my computer because of what I do. I'm editing photos, I'm editing videos and such. And it was just really nice to like remove like 4 or 5 hours of that every day of having to either post content or respond to comments or just keep up with the Joneses. Like, oh, this person I went to high school just got pregnant or had their baby or something like that. Like, that's not to say like that doesn't matter. Like congratulations to them, but I don't need to know that. Like objectively speaking, sometimes because I need to fix myself. Before I can like genuinely care. Like a conversation like this, John, like a year ago would not have happened. Like I was not in the mental space to be,
Who you are.
Yeah, to genuinely be Darshaun Smith, you know what I'm saying? And taking some time offline and writing a lot, like not even reading much, but just like understanding who I am, where I want to go with my life,
Your purpose.
what I want to do, trying to, as you just said, find my purpose. I came out on the other end, like shooting for the stars. We're gonna land on the moon, bare minimum. Like, let's go.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's just like it can be overwhelming. You know what I mean? The day to day. No matter who you are, we all go through it. And so for you to have the power, the willpower. Let me just put it that way. If you had the willpower to say, "Hey, like, no more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stepping up for myself. I'm putting myself first. And to your point, you cannot help others without helping yourself first. And so, I'm really, really proud of you for doing that, man, because not very many people can do that.
It's a lonely path.
It
Like,
is.
I was just saying this to someone the other day. It's like, I have no friends. Like, objectively speaking, like I have.
That's the way it is, though, when you're in business.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
You don't
I
have time to hang out with your homies.
I don't associate with anyone because they're probably a liability. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Reverting back to some past mindset or ways of doing things and
That's
such.
the thing, man. Like, a lot of people don't get that about business and entrepreneurship. Like, yeah, you can have friends. That's cool. But at the same time, like, you got to choose your friends wisely if you're going to have them. Because a lot of times they're just going to be a distraction.
Yeah.
Plenty of times where I've had to miss out on, trips, hangouts, kickbacks, whatever you want to call them. It's just part of being in business.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But anyway, yeah, man. Just want to kind of turn the page a little bit, kind of talk a little bit more about how the creative work, fuels business success, and what do you think like more businesses need to be doing more of when it comes to like, we talk a lot about content, but just like in general, as far as like building their brand, like what needs to happen more around here?
Especially like in Cedar Rapids, but at a larger Eastern Iowa, even larger just United States of America, like folks just need to showcase what they do more, and more importantly, who they are, and what they can do for people. Those three things, I kind of set them out of order. How I normally say them is what I at least frame all of my content through. Like if I make something, it's either going to tell a person who I am, what I do, or what I could do for them, and what that looks like for everyone is different. Like you have some lovely neighbors across here that fix truck trailers. Okay, like I don't think they have a social media presence, but obviously they're that parking lot's full. Like their business is booming. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like yes, not every business or industry requires you to have a super large social media presence. They may have a Facebook page at best. But some people, like if you're like an esthetician or you're a nail tech or like with you who's out here training people, or me doing photos and videos for folks, people need to see what you can do. Like they need the free trial, air quotes, before they, literally
just walk
send you
door.
money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that also too lets them know that it works and maybe it could work for them. But then three, like it helps people know you before they come in the door. And
yeah, you
I
establish. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I think that just helps the sale because like they feel like they know you already.
Exactly, and it's like you got to establish a little bit of trust. You know what I mean, and confidence.
Yeah.
You want to make them feel like they're confident in what they are putting their money behind. You know what I mean, and so. A little bit more behind the scenes on that. Like, what are your suggestions for building trust with folks that you're working with, and how can you build up their confidence?
Are you saying like if hypothetically I was a business owner trying to build that with my audience? Yeah, I would just like I said, I would just show people what I do. There's this good home builder I see. Obviously builds great homes and all that, but they show them doing it. It's like it seems too good to be true, but here's the step by step on how I'm doing it. Like this is not magic. Like I figured out the process. Here's how it's done.
I feel you on that.
That's
how I'm with training.
That's what you do with your content. Like it's like okay, like you see. Like you post graphics every now and then, like this person increased their vertical by like 2 inches or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, okay, you can go back and look at your content about them training the thing with the wall or whatever.
Yeah, right.
I'll overlay the video of like little stuff like that, and it's like because of that, you know what I'm saying? You can see the work that happened. You can see the before and after. You can see the real time testimonial from the people who are already in the door, and like I said. That when people see that, because a lot of people, they're followers. Objectively, at the end of the day, even the first person to follow is a follower, but they're technically a leader because they're taking a chance on you. So like that person who's taking a chance on you, you got to go hard in the paint. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because if you hit that ball out the park, they're going to have what it needs to get that next person in the door, and the next 2 people in the door, and then the next 4 or 5 people in the door.
That's really how it goes, man. Like, you do a good job, someone recognizes it, they take a risk, you know what I mean, coming in to see what it's all about, and you show them, hey, you know what I mean, like, I have resources that you need to get the outcome that you're wanting. You do a good job with them, then they go tell their homies, you know what I mean, they go tell whoever it is, and one person after another. You know what I mean?
And I think, like, to summarize everything I really just said into like one good point is like, just do good business.
Yes.
You know,
Simply
like,
put.
there's nothing more that needs to be said. Like, if you're out here, you're a scammy type, you're, you know, making false claims and you're not being
Get rich
truthful.
quick.
It
ain't gonna happen.
brother, I don't care how hard you try. Like, you're not going to build the trust you're looking for to get to where you want to get to. I'm assuming there's exceptions to the rules, but that's just what I've seen in my own personal experience. But the people who do a great service or offer a phenomenal product and they deliver it well and they're very open and transparent, they're like, hey, like, I wasn't prepared for this, but I'm going to do my best. Or, hey, like, you know, we had some delays. We're throwing an extra little sticker for you. Sorry, but, you know, can't help these tariffs.
Yeah, I mean,
something
just,
like that.
Yeah, just being good at business, and
Good
then also
business.
just like being a good person, because a lot of times, like, people aren't buying the business, they're buying you. They're buying a piece of you. So
No, I'm gonna need you to say that again real quick. I don't think the people heard that.
Yeah, I mean, they're not buying the business necessarily or the brand. Sometimes, majority of the time, they're buying the person behind it. So they're buying you. You know what I mean?
That's a
So
bar.
if you are a good person, you know, you take care of whoever it is, your customer or your athletes, you know, their sons, their daughters, you know, in my case, it's a big responsibility. So you better make sure that you know, do things right, and you just be you at the end of the day. I mean, if you're a good person, then it's all paying out.
You see,
know what I mean?
and I think that's like a full circle moment back to like how we started this whole conversation, or this whole podcast even, is like you being a good person and just being true to who you are, just like being yourself. It's easy. Like, that's the reason I can post content every day, is because I'm not faking it.
That's the thing. It's easy, right? But for some folks, they're scared to do that.
Yeah, because they're
scared of the judgment.
Yeah, they're scared of the trade-off where it's like, oh, people are gonna know what's really going on up here or whatever. So I personally just don't care.
When I went to Chicago for my internship that summer, it was one of the most liberating feelings that I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
I was out there with one of my buddies who went to college at Loyola, slept on his futon, was interning at this, you know, professional sports training facility, Bulls and stuff like that. And the reason why it was so liberating is because, like, I went out there, right, and this is, you know, my sophomore year of college.
Yeah.
Went out there, nobody knew who I was. I get out there, I'm just being myself, and people loved me for it. I'm like, dang, like, this kind of feels good. I don't have to, you know, put on any act or anything. I can just be me, and people are gonna like and respect me for who I am.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we talked about being a good human, stuff like that. I think that goes far enough to tell you this story about, I don't know if I ever told you this. It was how I got my shadow with the Chicago Bulls. Did I tell you about this?
You mentioned it, but I didn't hear the story.
So I was at this facility, right? This training facility, and I was just an intern. You know, I wasn't like a coach or anything.
Yeah, you just there.
I'm just doing my thing, and there was this gentleman on this stability ball trying to do, you know, these push-ups with his feet up on the ball, and or whatever he was trying to do, and he was struggling with it, and nobody was helping him. I'm like, man, what's going on? Why doesn't nobody help? So I walk over there, help him out, like hustled over there. And he said, thank you. And I'm going, session ends. I'm in the back, you know, room by the laundry, making protein shakes, you know, doing intern stuff, you know what I mean? And he walks in, he says, hey man, you know, tell me a little bit about yourself. He's like, you know, just kind of, I appreciate your help and all that. And I was just like, hey man, I'm just here. I want to learn from the best because I want to be the best. I really liked my story. I liked how I helped him. Mm-hmm. He's like, hey, let me help you, man. here's Matt Johnson, his information. Give him a call. I work in the front office for the Chicago Bulls. Give him a call. We'll get you in for a day or two. I'm like, oh, I was not expecting that. You know what I mean? But
Say
okay.
less.
So I called him up. I got the deal. You know what I mean? Went in, did my thing. But long story short, you know what I mean? Just be a good person, help people, and good things will come with that.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, dude, I don't really have anything else for you. But unless you had anything else you wanted to add, what's one big skill that you're trying to build here towards the end of the year?
Lead generation. And that is like a very broad term. And there are 4 core ways to do that. 1, cold approach. 2, warm approach. 3, affiliates. And 4 is content. And this fourth one, this little fourth one, is the one I've been really trying to perfect this year. And the only way I see to do that is to get reps. And I've been getting the reps and I've been seeing success. Like I just hit, like literally the other day, 100,000 views on my YouTube channel, finally, because I had a couple videos get, like 2,000 views here, 5,000 views there. And that really just like bumped it up quick. I'm already at 110,000.
Nice.
And my average video view now is like 500 or 600. So I've seen just in the last 4 months it go from, like objectively speaking, like 25 because I literally didn't post for a year to like almost 500 views a YouTube short now, or
nice.
Or 30 or 40 views alone on YouTube for the podcast that I have. That's not even including Spotify and all the other places people can watch. And yeah, I just like that skill. It just takes time. Some people get lucky, they have their overnight success, as we talked about. But I'm glad that, I'm having a slow, meteoric, I think that's how you say it, something like that, rise to where, you can learn a lot of things along the way and just stack days.
Absolutely. One day at a time, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
So you can do one day at a time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, like I said, that's all I got for you today. I appreciate you coming on, man. Again, you're watching New Wave Certified. Appreciate you guys checking in. See you guys next time.
Deuces. All right.
Good stuff. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Ski. Let's hope this camera's still recording.